The neural interface burned cold against Keyven's temple as he watched Jennifer's vitals flatline across 3 different monitors. 23 seconds. That's how long the human brain could survive complete oxygen deprivation before cellular cascade became irreversible. He had already wasted 4. "Idiot," Jennifer had called him. Her last word before the quantum decoherence field collapsed her consciousness into the void between synapses. The words still echoed in his auditory memory banks, sharp and clear, even as her physical body convulsed against the medical restraints. Keyven's fingers danced across the haptic interface, bypassing 7 different safety protocols that the Ardanian Medical Collective had spent centuries perfecting. The other physicians in the emergency neural theater watched him with expressions ranging from horror to fascination. None of them moved to stop him. They couldn't. He had already isolated the quantum-locked systems, creating a closed loop that only his biometric signature could penetrate. 19 seconds. The accident had been his fault, technically. Jennifer had been the lead xenolinguist on the expedition to translate the Voreth Codex, a crystalline data structure recovered from the ruins of a civilization that had supposedly transcended physical existence 2 million years ago. Keyven, as the mission's quantum archaeologist, had been responsible for safely interfacing the codex with their translation matrices. He had miscalculated the resonance frequency by 0.03%. 0.03%, a rounding error, a statistical noise, but in quantum archaeology, such margins were the difference between controlled observation and catastrophic entanglement. The codex had reached out through the translation field and grabbed Jennifer's consciousness like a black hole swallowing light. One moment she had been annotating phoneme structures. The next, her neural patterns were being pulled into an alien information architecture that existed partially outside conventional spacetime. Keyven had done the only thing he could think of. He'd grabbed her physically, yanking her away from the interface terminal. The sudden disconnection had saved her from complete dissolution into the codex, but it had also trapped fragments of her consciousness in quantum superposition, simultaneously existing and not existing, alive and not alive, here and elsewhere. "You're an idiot," she had gasped, blood trickling from her nose as her higher cognitive functions began shutting down. "The codex, it was showing me. You didn't have to." Then she had collapsed. 14 seconds. The problem was elegant in its impossibility. Jennifer's consciousness existed in multiple quantum states simultaneously. Standard neural reconstruction required a definitive baseline, a single coherent pattern to rebuild from, but Jennifer was currently all possible Jennifers at once. The one who had fully interfaced with the codex, the one who had never touched it, and infinite variations between. Collapsing that superposition into a single state would destroy 99.9% of who she was. No traditional medicine could solve it. No warrior could fight it. No technology in the Ardanian arsenal could fix quantum entanglement of a human consciousness. But Keyven wasn't trying to fix it. 9 seconds. His fingers found the neural interface controls for his own consciousness. The other doctors finally understood what he intended, and 3 of them lunged forward, shouting objections that the medical theater's isolation field converted into muted bass vibrations. Keyven activated his own quantum entanglement protocol. The theory was simple, if completely untested. If Jennifer's consciousness existed in superposition, he could create a quantum link with his own mind, using his coherent neural state as an anchor. Not to collapse her superposition, but to stabilize it, to give all those possible Jennifers a single reference point to cohere around. It meant deliberately destroying the quantum isolation that protected individual consciousness. It meant becoming entangled with another human being at the most fundamental level of existence. It meant that, from that moment forward, he and Jennifer would never be truly separate again. Every thought, every memory, every possible version of themselves would be linked through quantum correlation. It meant giving up the thing that warriors valued most, individual sovereignty. 5 seconds. Kievan had been trained as a sentinel, the Ardanian collective's elite guardian caste. 20 years of conditioning to value independence, self-reliance, individual prowess. A sentinel's consciousness was supposed to be inviolate, a fortress against any form of external influence or control. What he was about to do violated every principle of his training. It was the one thing a warrior could never do, willingly surrender the boundaries of self. 2 seconds. The neural link initialized. For a fraction of an instant, Kievan experienced every possible version of Jennifer simultaneously. The one who had interfaced completely with the Codex and emerged transformed. The one who had died in the initial contact. The one who had never participated in the expedition. Versions that spoke different languages, held different memories, loved different people. Infinite Jennifers cascading through infinite quantum branches. And then, like a wave function collapsing, they all converged on a single point. The Jennifer who had called him an idiot, because she had been in the middle of the most profound discovery in human history when he'd panicked and pulled her away. The Jennifer who had been right. Kievan gasped as foreign memories flooded his consciousness. The Codex hadn't been attacking her, it had been teaching her. Showing her the linguistic patterns of a species that had learned to encode consciousness itself as transmissible information. Jennifer had been on the verge of understanding communication that transcended the limitations of physical substrate. And he had ripped her away from it. "Idiot," Kievan whispered, though he wasn't sure if the thought was his or hers anymore. Jennifer's eyes snapped open. The monitors showed her neural activity stabilizing, but the patterns were unlike anything the doctors had seen before. Two distinct consciousness signatures existing in quantum correlation, separate but fundamentally linked. She looked at Kievan with an expression that contained both fury and wonder. When she spoke, her voice was hoarse but steady. "You quantum entangled our consciousnesses. Do you have any idea what you've done?" "Saved your life," Kievan offered weakly. He could feel her thoughts now, not as words but as fundamental patterns of being. Her anger at his interruption, her terror at nearly dying, her awe at what the Codex had shown her, and underneath it all, a grudging recognition of the sacrifice he'd made. "You didn't save me," Jennifer said, sitting up despite the doctor's protests. "You joined me. There's a difference." She paused, and through their quantum link, Kievan felt her accessing the memories of the Codex that had been preserved in her consciousness. But maybe that's what the Vorath were trying to teach us all along. "What do you mean?" Jennifer smiled, though the expression was complicated by emotions that weren't entirely her own. The Codex wasn't a database. It was an invitation. The Vorath didn't transcend physical existence. They evolved beyond individual consciousness. They became a network, billions of minds linked through quantum correlation, sharing experiences and thoughts across time and space. Kievan felt the implications cascade through both their minds simultaneously. They became a collective consciousness. "Not a hive mind," Jennifer corrected, and Kievan already understood the distinction even as she thought it. Each individual retained their identity, but they were all fundamentally connected. No more isolation, no more misunderstanding, complete empathy because you literally shared the same quantum substrate of being. "And you think that's what they wanted to teach us, how to do the same?" "I think," Jennifer said slowly, "that's what you just figured out how to do. No warrior has ever willingly quantum entangled their consciousness with another person. It goes against every instinct, every training, every cultural value. But you did it anyway." Through their link, Kievan could feel Jennifer's mind working through the implications, and his own thoughts accelerated in response, building on her insights. Together, they were processing information faster than either could alone, not because they had more computational power, but because they had different perspectives on the same data, and those perspectives were now fundamentally shared. "This changes everything," Kievan breathed. This changes everything, Jennifer agreed. But first, you're going to help me properly interface with the Codex again, except this time I won't be alone. Kevin felt a spike of fear, his own, hers, or both, he couldn't tell. But he also felt determination, curiosity, and the strange comfort of knowing that whatever came next, neither of them would face it alone. Together, he asked. Jennifer extended her hand. Through their quantum link, the gesture carried layers of meaning that no physical touch could convey: partnership, trust, apology, and the beginning of something entirely new. Together, she confirmed, "You idiot." But this time, Kevin could feel that she meant it fondly.